Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Scott.
I'm Shatay, and we're the Hazes.
Welcome to the Love Haze podcast, where we believe that healing and wholeness are not destinations.
That's right. We believe they're a journey, y'all. And here on the Love Haze, we talk about how to navigate through it.
Listen, I don't know about y'all, but for us, life has been lifing lately. Seems like at every turn, we are just pulled in a whole bunch of different directions, faced with difficult decisions, facing some disappointment, and really just juggling really full plates.
Yeah.
We want to talk today about how to take care of ourselves in the midst of it all, and when we're really just up against adulting. Here's the cliff notes. We don't know. Anyway, welcome to our Black love journey. Let's get into it. Let's go. So, Mrs. Hayes, set us up. Where did this come from?
Because I'm tired. That's really the bottom line. You know, we've always said that this podcast is as much for us as it is everybody else.
Absolutely.
And the last several episodes have really been in real time the things that we are dealing with in our own personal lives. And, you know, workplace trauma was 59, 60 was the whole conversation about family. And now here we are, 61, and I'm tired. And it's not, I've heard so many people, it's not just me. So I've heard other people and I've been like, oh, how you been? And they've been like, I'm tired. Like that's been the response. And there's a lot to really process there. I've been thinking about lately. Like part of it feels like for a lot of people, we're in transition seasons. And so, you know, for me, it's a work transition. For some folks, it could be personal life transition, love, relationship transitions, home transitions, purchasing homes. But for me specifically, like transition, it feels like for work, we are also building something. So it's like, it's difficult you have to spend the time when you're trying to build something, right? But not only that, family circumstances come up, not just celebrating your family on their birthdays and anniversaries and graduations and things and, you know, a transition loss, right? But then also like, you know, aging grandparents and like, how do you support them when you don't live in the same state? And then how do we take care of our physical bodies and try to wake up and meditate and work out and be what your partner needs and then be what you need. And it's exhausting. I think the other part of that is I heard someone recently say, we are probably all still dealing with the fallout of the pandemic. Like how do we process just like such a major world change like that? And then wake up today and you talking about there's another strain in China that's supposed to be more deadly. Like how? I can't even wrap my head around, not to mention the devastation that happens in the news every single day. And I purposely don't watch the news because my heart just can't, for my own mental health, I can't take all of that. So if you think about all of that, and like, how are you supposed to wake up every day and be sane? Like, my goodness.
But I mean, even in terms of transition, like transitioning back to what maybe was our normal before the pandemic.
That's not happening.
And so, I mean, even in terms of just like the podcast, like we had a lot of time during the podcast to film
during the pandemic.
We weren't going anywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
So we had so much time on like the weekends and, you know, after work because people weren't outside. And now people back outside. I mean, to be honest, Atlanta was always outside, but we weren't outside like that. And so a lot of people started podcasts and stuff like that or started some project in the midst of the pandemic that they really haven't been able to keep up with because now people back out living what I guess was their regular lives. But also people are trying to navigate like finding a new normal. So I don't know that we'll ever really go back to how things were pre-pandemic, but like it was good to see the return of the Jazz Fest this weekend, more festivals coming back, but also it's more demands on our time. Me coming off the heels of like all the things that I did with Mental Health Awareness Month, the things that we did with the podcast with Mental Health Awareness Month. And then this month is Men's Health Month and just things on things on things. And it is the midst of all of those, also Pride, all those transitions for graduates, for all the things that you mentioned, and then us being in the midst of trying to find, I think, this new normal outside of the pandemic. if it's over or coming to its end or whatever it is, those are all very difficult things. And in the midst of that, you incorporate just regular adulting. Like,
Yeah.
how you supposed to do that?
Yeah. And I didn't even mention we're still trying to make babies. So all of that
Hmm.
and fertility. The You mentioned the festivals being back. I think it's great for the city. And also
Hmm.
we got invites to the festival and I was like, I just can't. I can't do it. I don't want to be outside. I don't even want to talk to anybody.
Hmm.
Okay.
Right.
It's hard for me to find time to talk to my mama these days because, you know, if I'm feeling like also it's requiring more focus, more energy for me to be focused on one thing, or I can't multitask the way that I thought I used to. So I could, be thinking about a couple things at a certain time. But now it's like I'm getting a slew of text messages about, sorority things and group texts, friend texts, and just all these things. And like a text from you about, and I cannot even focus on that. And then what I'm doing, I have to I can't even respond to text messages until later in the day.
Except mine. You respond
That's
to
true.
mine without a problem.
I do respond to his. But everybody else, I'll be like, I can't do it. I don't even have the mental energy, the mental bandwidth to divide my time, be fully here
Hmm.
in this work thing, be here also. It's just, yeah, I think that's just where I am. What's been your experience of adulthood? Because I'm trying to think about, has it always been like this? It doesn't feel like it's always been like this. So I'm
No.
like, what is it? What's been your experience of adulthood versus like what you thought it would be? Or is this something new? Is it a condition of like the full total world?
Um, just before I move on to that question, you're gonna have to ask me that again because I got stuck somewhere.
Where?
I personally am thinking about it, and y'all know we process out loud what people experience in silence. So we are really just processing this like right now.
Mm.
Um, I think a part of our therapeutic journey for both of us has been like learning to be present.
Mm.
And I think in the midst of learning how to be present, you realize how many things that you've been doing. I realize how many things that I've been doing
Mm-hmm.
that were just like I was doing them, like things that I was
Mm.
marking off the list.
That's
But
good.
like going back and learning all of these mindfulness practices and
Mm-hmm.
learning how to be present, when you are actually present for people and for situations and for things that you're involved in, you're much more effective in those spaces, but you're also like you're present.
Mm.
And so you're more mindful of like the things that you say yes to. Like,
Yeah.
can I really go to this and be present for the people
Yeah.
that I'm there with? Or would I just be showing up and be thinking about the next thing I have to do? So I think for me right now, what I'm feeling in my spirit is just like I'm I'm more mindful of the things that I say yes to, more present in the things that I agree to do, making sure that I show up fully as myself and give all of those things the things that, the whole me.
Yeah.
But that means I can't spread myself so thin anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but anyway, that came to mind. I'm sorry, what was your question?
No, that was actually really good reflection and
Mhm.
helpful for me. Like, what does it look like? I have been like, I want to just show up and be present for this thing, but being present for this thing means like I can't respond to a text message. I
Mhm.
can't do these other things. And by the time I have given all of my energy to the things that I was present for, that I've prioritized, it's like harder to do more.
Mhm.
And part of me is like, well, are we signing on to do too much? But it feels like more than that. Like you can say no to some things and get some
Mhm.
things off of our plates. And in my defense, I've gotten some requests to write some articles and I've just been like, I don't have space for another thing. And it's also like some of these things are just ongoing and it's just the season for them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I can say no to a couple of articles that will only take me like a couple of weeks,
Mhm.
but I'm doing that because I've got podcasts is like going on for the foreseeable future. Family stuff is going on for the foreseeable future. Uh,
Mhm.
Fertility journey is going on for the first, but it's in the background. It's not like it
Mhm.
always requires our immediate attention. It's like ongoing in the background, and it'll be like, oh, we got this invoice to pay this one thing today. And oh, I got this other invoice that was unexpected. And oh, I got this email. And we had scheduled to do this thing, but now it's all wrong and my day is jacked up. And, it's
Mhm.
just like all of these tiny little problems that in the grand scheme of things, yeah, I was telling somebody recently, like, there's nothing bad happening. There are
Yeah.
great things happening. and I'm tired.
Right.
So the question I was asking was, do you feel like adulthood has always been like this, or is this what you thought adulthood would be? Or
It's definitely not what I thought adulthood would be, but I had some ideas around adulthood that involved me just kind of slipping and sliding and doing whatever I wanted to do. And
freedom,
so that
right?
right, and so
Hmm.
this mindfulness and this leaning more into like the mental health space, even outside of what I do on a daily basis, and like the development of this podcast, where we are in our personal journeys, um, including therapy and having to think through, the decisions that I make,
Yes.
making sure that I'm mindful of my partner, making sure that I'm mindful of myself,
Yeah.
things that those things have not been in practice for me before,
Yeah.
you know, um, just like not considering like the consequences of my decisions before. And with adulthood and making my own money, I didn't realize that it would be like this. And like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a lot.
It's heavy, but heavy not in like a emotional heaviness. It's an energetic heaviness.
Yeah,
It's
it
just
requires a
like,
lot from me.
okay, give me a second. I need a quick little recharge and then I can address
Hmm.
this other thing. So yeah, when I thought of adulthood, I just thought of freedom. Like I can make my own decisions. Can't nobody tell me what to do. I can go where I want to go. I can pay
Drive
for
what
what
I
I
want to
want.
drive.
Yeah. And there was that, but that comes with so much responsibility.
It
It's
does.
to the point where now I was talking to some friends and it was like, when did we become the adults? Like when, you know what I mean? That
Yeah.
where we're starting to sort of take care of parents and grandparents and maybe even younger generations and children or nephews and nieces. Like when did we become,
Hmm.
who said it was okay for that to happen?
Wow. Find yourself fussing at somebody's kids
Right.
randomly, and you be like, wait, I just did that. What them cheering going through? Why that baby ain't
Right.
got no coat
Why
on?
the baby still up? It's too late for that baby to be up. We need to go to sleep. Yeah, all of that. Like what life just moves you on, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
We the
Mm.
old people in the club.
Oh, I'm not at the club. I'm not going. I'm not
We
doing
going.
that. I'm not doing that.
We in the lounge that
Yeah.
has turned into a club.
I'm at a late dinner that a restaurant has had a DJ. We're even at brunch. Like, why is the DJ so loud?
I can't even communicate my thoughts because the DJ's so loud.
I can't. I'm having to scream to you. Like, excuse me, can you ask the DJ to turn the music down on this here
You so ridiculous.
Atlanta brunch? Like, is it too much to ask to be able to have a conversation with my people for?
Like, yes, you came to a turn up brunch. You cannot. Ain't no conversation, dude.
Yeah, I'm trying to say here, like, can I even recall another season of life that's felt this draining? Because I've always done a lot,
Mm-hmm.
I've always.
What's the difference then? Even if you think about another season of life when things have maybe felt this draining, like what
There
is it?
hasn't been a season of life where things have felt this draining. And maybe what I'm processing is, to your point, being present. I said it was an energetic heaviness. I said it wasn't emotional heaviness because it's
Mhm.
not in this moment, but I think some of the things we have going on do carry an emotional heaviness with them so that for the most part they're fine. But if I just sit in it or when there's bad days,
Mhm.
then that does, that wears on you
Mhm.
in a way. And so maybe that's it. It's just like some of the things that we are dealing with do carry an emotional heaviness. So it's like regular responsibilities and the parts of life where they're just a little harder to
So
deal.
for me, I definitely don't dismiss the emotional heaviness of it.
Hmm.
Like other seasons in my life, it's really only been about 4 years since I really started leaning into like understanding my emotions and
Mm.
learning to like process through things rather
Hmm.
than just be reactive.
Yeah.
So things being emotionally heavy they definitely are. It puts me in a different space
Yeah.
to feel the things that I feel. And then for a long time, I just focused on like being able to identify the emotion associated with, whatever I feel.
Yeah.
So there was a point where I believed that in my manhood, I was not supposed to feel these things. Like I needed to man up and not feel it, stuff it, and just go on and be functional. And then I started learning to like, it was unhealthy for me to stuff it. I
Mm.
needed to say the thing and feel what it is that I feel.
Mhm.
And then, in the last 2 years, I've gotten into this season really where not only am I saying the thing and calling out the emotion, but I'm learning how not to let the emotion guide my next move.
Yeah.
And so there's like this pattern of growth that's been happening. But when you feel something and you identify and call it out for what it is, you then have to do something about it. And that is a heaviness,
Yeah.
because rather than medicating it, with whatever, my thing may be at the moment, I'm not medicating it. I'm calling it out, feeling what I feel, and then making an appropriate choice that's healthy for my relationships and for the folks involved, and having to consider like, how's this going to impact me? How's it going to impact the people that I'm in relationship with? And that's definitely heavy.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Let's talk about the haze. And I'm sitting here thinking like, we can say, oh yeah, just take care of yourself, just self-care. But I think what we're talking about here is more than that. It's almost like when self-care might isn't enough. Something
Hmm.
like, because we do things to take care of ourselves, but the adulting persists. It comes back even harder. So I can
Hmm.
name, for example, all the things that I do. Some can call it maintenance, some can call it, I don't know, but all of them make me feel good in some way. So I get my nails and hair done regularly. I go to acupuncture regularly. I get massages. I could go more. I'm at least going a couple times a quarter now, whereas I'm aiming to go once a month. When I get to have like really good meals with friends, sit down and just have a
Hmm.
conversation that feeds my soul. So there are
Sure.
things that I'm doing to take care of myself, and your girl's still tired, So like, that's I guess a haze. Like when self care isn't enough is a haze, and I think it's something that you don't necessarily anticipate, or we don't even know that can be a thing. People are like, oh, just take care of yourself, have a self care, check out for the day, get a day of rest, or take the time off that you need. So, should I take the year off? Like, help me understand what I should be doing. And maybe that is it. Maybe your girl needs FMLA and just be off,
I would venture to say you need to sit your ass down somewhere.
Mm,
So, you know, self care sometimes for us can also look very active.
mm,
And sometimes you just need to sit down.
yeah,
And I don't mind. You fuss at me all the time about not sitting down.
because you don't.
But I have some issues. I have some work to do around being able to actually rest.
Yeah.
And so there is self care that involves you like doing things to take care of yourself. And then there should be like our baseline health,
Hmm.
right? That involves like appropriate rest.
Yeah.
And so to me, I don't know if you can have a conversation about like the activity of self-care that still involves you not resting if you're not at baseline resting appropriately.
Mm,
And for both of us, I don't know that we rest as much as we should be. So there are all these things on our calendar to do to grow the pod, to, you know, um, be there for friends and family and for ourselves and for work, to transition and do all of these things. And one of the things you said earlier said involved nothing about rest,
yeah.
you know, and
Mm,
we have to have that as a part of our whole health as well. You got to get the amount of rest that you need to be able to, move and shake, and if you don't, like you'll mess around and your body will shut you down. So
that's real. And I'm thinking about, well, we've had vacations, we've recharged, I've even had a moment where I had like a week, I think, to regroup, and it's enough for that moment. But then
mhm,
I'm back to being tired. So maybe the answer is a sabbatical of some sort, or extended period of time off. But to your point, even with that, it would just be the time off to not have to deal with one main area of focus, because it's not even a
mhm,
stressor. It's like I have to dedicate so much time and attention as a lead in leadership roles, right?
mhm,
And that, just even eliminating that from a thing to be concerned about for a little while,
mhm.
probably could be really helpful. So maybe I don't know if
That's
that's
it.
the answer.
We always carve out time to like do these things, but it's actively doing things. Like you just took what you took off like what 2 weeks.
Yeah, but one of those weeks I was
And this is what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
Like 1 week you spent like
In
doing
Texas.
all things like love hate stuff.
And I was in Texas also.
And then you were in Texas taking care of family stuff, but it was still like active.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Active labor of some sort. And it can be a labor of love still, things that you enjoy, but it is still not like sitting down and doing nothing.
And that's honestly hard for me. Like, even what was that last Saturday when I wasn't feeling well and I stayed in my robe all day, and I was like, okay, I had to give myself permission to do that, because in the back of my mind I was like, well, while I'm laying here, I could be creating some social media graphics, or you know what I mean? So even that when there's so much to do, it's kind of like, do I have the time to be just laying here?
Yeah, that's it though. You got to give yourself permission to just be like doing nothing. Um, and for me, it's just like my body will shut me down. You know, and I don't want my body to have to quit on me before I give my body what it needs. Like even in, with working out and all that stuff, and we started these affirmations that we've been doing for a while, and I'll do them every day. I think you probably do them more often than I do, but it's just like this idea of like I'm good to my body, and my body is good to me. Like I feed my body good things, I give my body appropriate rest, I do all of those things, but you got to be telling the truth when you say that. And so if I say I give my body appropriate rest, then I'm not telling the truth. Right. But I want to do better with that. And a part of that is just being able to sit down.
I hear that. I hear you. How do we navigate it?
I think that you encourage yourself to be always on the journey of like finding better ways to do better by your body and by yourself. I think it also like giving yourself the pushback of like calling out when you're not doing right by your body, and by taking care of yourself. And I think that's a key thing for me, right? And again, thinking about it right now, there is self-care, and then there's taking care of myself. Right. And taking care of myself at baseline is like eating right, getting enough rest, all of those things. And then when I do those things, I go out and I give my job and the pod and all these other things the best of me. There is also then incorporating self-care. But number one, I have to take care of myself at baseline so I can show up and be the best me that I can be. And then we can incorporate self-care in that. But that is how to navigate it for me. And I'm having to actively learn how to do that, how to take better care of myself. What do you think?
I don't know what I think. I'm still trying to figure it out. How do you navigate it? Yeah. I mean, to your point, just keep trying. Keep reminding myself of it. Keep taking the moments. Keep setting boundaries with myself, even when I break them. Or I think for me, the work is really around the self-talk when I'm resting. So I don't have a problem taking the day when it's like, okay, Sunday. That's the day that I was taught for it to be a day of rest. So we can go to church or watch it on TV. I mean, watch it live, and then I can sit down all day, because that is what you do on Sundays. I don't have a problem with that. But if it's another day, a day when we should be producing something, then that's where the problem, I have more problems. So
you gotta take out that should be.
Exactly. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. So that's what I'm saying. That's me trying to navigate it, is unlearning some things, being okay with sitting down, not being productive on a weekday, let's say, for example, and learning how to be okay with that. And that's probably just going to take me some time.
Yeah, same. It's going to take me some time.
Yeah.
It is work that needs to be done, work that has to be done.
Yeah.
If I'm going to keep showing up in all of these spaces and being the very best that I can do.
Yeah.
Because I'll spend the rest of the time like beating myself up about not being productive enough, not giving myself enough grace, and then therefore not giving anybody else any grace, because I work this hard, so surely you can. So just got to do better with giving ourselves permission to take care of ourselves and have the self-care aspect. And just be figuring out like all these transitions of adulting.
Yeah.
And adulting in a different way. because the way that I saw people before me adult wasn't necessarily healthy for them.
Yeah.
There are things that I know that I wanted to do better, but I'm all about ebbs and flows, and erring and correcting. And I see some things that I need to correct, and I just need to get about the business of giving myself permission to make the corrections as they need to be made.
Yeah.
And not be, exhausted by doing so, and not be like tired in doing so. Just always giving myself permission to be a student of even of myself. Like I'm learning me anew.
Yeah.
In this post pandemic, in the midst of all these other transitions, in the midst of everything. And there is an adequate amount of anxiety. Like, what if my job is getting ready to go into mask optional policy next week. And I have so much anxiety about being in this one morning group that we have where everybody's in there. It's like 60 some odd people plus the staff. And everybody going to be in there breathing each other air. And I'm like, how long before somebody got the vid? But, that is a real life concern that I have as an adult of what I'm going to do if pandemic circles back around, or if somebody gets COVID and I bring it home to my wife who's getting ready to start a new gig and all of those things. Like, I give myself grace for those things and learning how to exist in the world where, people aren't wearing masks.
But I mean, to your point earlier, we live in Atlanta and Georgia, and it's been like that. So it's not anything new. It's just new in this instance, and maybe you're realizing that gave you more comfort than you had.
More than I thought.
Yeah, more than you thought. I'm over here thinking about also Beyonce took that year off. She was just like, I ain't taking no gigs, and then she just came back. So I'm like, how can I take a year off? I would love a sabbatical. Let me figure out how to make that happen, where I could just read books and watch documentaries and just get inspired and research things.
I want you to figure out how to make that happen so we can read books. My wife is rich, son.
You're not going to read no books, sir.
Child, you don't know what I might do.
Anyways, any other last thoughts on when regular self-care is not enough? Because life be life?
I think that it needs to be a part of our routine.
Yeah.
To at baseline take care of ourselves.
Maybe we should just be each other's accountability partner. You help me to set down somewhere, and I will try.
We got to do an episode on how you be talking to me. You be talking real tough to me. It ain't real like, Skyhead, can you please sit down somewhere? You talking to me like you my mama or somebody. I don't like it.
I don't say that to you.
And then I'm also anti-authority, so I don't like the way it feels. So then I'm going to do the opposite of what you said. But I'm in therapy and dealing with my own, anti-authority issues.
Good luck to her. God bless her and all the things that she's working.
You're not going to do me at the end of this episode. That's what's not going to happen right now.
What's the next segment, please?
What's the music for the moment?
Thank you.
What does this moment feel like?
This kind of happened by chance when I was already feeling how I was feeling, and I had put on one of my daily mixes on Spotify, and Solange came on. And at the time I was like, asking you about her second album versus her first album. And we were kind of talking about this episode, and I was like, oh, cue Solange, Borderline, an ode to self-care. Of course, this is the song for today. She has some lines in there. I know I'm tired. I know you tired. I'm tired. Let's take an intermission. I don't know if that's what she intended the meaning to be, but my interpretation, it feels good. It's got a nice jazzy track to it.
Yeah.
I think Q-Tip is on it in some way, but that's it. An ode to self-care.
Yeah, I was gonna leave my song out, but I'm including it anyway.
What?
This is Moneybag Yo. I got time today.
Why is that the song, sir?
Because
self-care.
I just looked at my wrist. I got time today. I got time for me.
Oh, okay.
Because people is crossing the line today. You let folks and you let things take up all your time and will. Yeah. I just looked at my wrist. I got time for me today. I got time to take care of myself today.
I hear
that. I'm gonna make time.
Make it. Yes, sir.
Really.
Thank you. Well, we will add those to the music for the moment playlist on Spotify. You can take a look at all the links in our description to check out all the resources we share here, including the music.
Yeah.
And with that, we invite you to like, follow, subscribe, rate, do all the things wherever you are listening to this episode from, whether it be YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart Radio. I don't know. We're all the places.
Yeah.
Even if you're streaming from our website, thelovehaze.co. We thank you for tuning in, and we, again, would love for you to engage with the conversations. Let us know what you want us to unpack. And then again, like, follow, subscribe. Yep.
Yeah.
And like we always say, life is gonna life. Life will always present you with a haze, but we have everything that we need within us to navigate through it.
Absolutely. And of course, you're not alone. Join us. Continue to join us.
Yeah.
And we're going to take the journey together. We appreciate y'all. We out. Peace.
Holla.
Jill.